Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. Welcome to TrippyTimes. Today we have a guest. I think a lot of people in our audience are going to know, Gemma Jade. She's on a few podcasts, Spaced Out Radio, Paranormal Chop Shop with my buddy Sonny. She's been on some other shows. She has her own show, Gemma Jade podcast, and God, Moon Bear Oracle, if I'm saying that correctly. She um she is a clairvoyant and a clair I can't remember the other word, but we're gonna be getting a little bit more into the paranormal stuff. I know a lot of our other guests have been more on the UFO ET topic, but ready to go ahead and bring her in. So everybody give a welcome to Gemma Jade, everybody.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hi
How's
Gemma.
everyone doing? Hey, Josh, thank you so much for having me. This is exciting.
Thank you. I'm excited to have you in here. It's an honor.
Very
So
cool.
if you don't mind, would you mind giving like a quick little summary of who you are and how you got to do doing what you're doing right now and why
Sure.
you're so interested in it.
So, when I was younger, from as far back as I can remember, I always had these like imaginary friends that I knew weren't imaginary. Hey, Wes. Hey, everybody. But that, everyone else were telling me was imaginary. So I knew even at a young age that maybe other people can't see these people. And a lot of the times they would appear very like gory, or in their death face, like with their death face is what I call it. So I'm having dinner at 8 years old and there's someone with like an axe in their head standing over in the corner. It was very scary. And I did have the quote unquote evil stepmother who would always threaten me when I would say things like this, or so anyway, as I became a teenager and I realized that a lot of people are telling me I was a natural witch, so I could do a lot of things like that, like as far as spell casting and all that. I kind of went a little crazy with it, and after having some bad things happen, I kind of just shut it all out. I shut it all out. I stopped, as best as I could. I stopped acknowledging spirit. I stopped acknowledging my spirit guides, and it didn't work out well for me. So a few years ago, I was like, you know what? I can't do this anymore. I just had my son. My life had almost been completely destroyed by a really bad addiction, and I was like, I have to open up to this, and I have to figure out how I can help other people. I'd spoken to my guides. They told me I was here to help people with the same problems. Now I know it's a blessing and it's beautiful. I went to my church. I talked to my pastor. He gave me a blessing, and I decided to start a YouTube channel doing true crime because I would get visitations from the spirits that I would like see on the news of people that were missing. But that was really hard for me. So I just moved kind of into I guess you could say the paranormal and supernatural. I hooked up with Steve Stockton, started writing for his channel, and then I uncovered a few months ago some repressed extraterrestrial memories. So I was like, you know what? That's why I've had a fear of outer space my entire life and had no idea why because it made no sense. But now I know it's probably because of that. And here I am now just trying to find answers, but also help people and help spirit. I cross a lot of spirits over, and that's the short summary of it.
Wow, that's so awesome. I gotta say, everything you say, I have ADD, and every now and then, like my mind kind of goes on overload. But what you're saying, I have like 10 questions I want to ask you at the same time already. But we've got like a little bit of things in common. Quite a few things actually. Um, God, which one do I want to ask first? I really have like okay. So first off, I want to ask you, as far as whenever it comes to like people being able to see certain things like this, do you think that it's something to do with like I think about like spectrums of light and energy, how there's like sorry, non-visible energy all around us, all times. Like what are you talking about, like Wi-Fi signals or just all kinds of spectrums of just light and energy, just I think about like what is it, like ones and zeros bouncing around everywhere, waves of energy. But what I'm what I'm trying to think is, do you think some people's brains are maybe wired different, or I like to I'm really into quantum physics and like a lot of the more metaphysical things, but kind of like the neuroplasticity, I guess. And I think about hearing people who have trauma or like a near death experience or something like that. Do you think it kind of like maybe rewires something in their brain where not so much that they're like smarter than everybody else, but that they're just able to see these different energies that other people can't.
Well,
And
I
so
feel
I know
like
a
there's
lot.
no, that's okay. I feel like you did kind of ask like two questions there, and I definitely understand though what you're asking. And I think the first question, what I would say, and guys, this is all about my opinion and experience. And I think that what we believe is what we've, based on what we've experienced. So not everyone's going to agree. I always say that right off so people don't think I'm trying to like push any kind of agenda. I'm just telling you my experience. So from what I
Sorry.
believe is everybody is born open enough and able to see spirit and other um you just said it about the light, like other spectrums, other I'll think of the word.
Mhm.
But that's why they say babies are always smiling in the corner, oh, he's playing with the angels, or little kids can see things that grown-ups don't. And I believe everybody's born that way. But I do believe that um, for everybody who has it when they're older, I think it's something different. My experience has been so intense in so many different things. Some people are a clairvoyant. Some people, but I have so much, and I'm like, why? It's been almost torturous at times before I connected with it. And I spoke to my spirit guides about it, and they told me that while I was in spirit, waiting to be born and kind of drafting out my life chart, and this is going to be a little hard to explain, but what they told me is the reason I have so much overload is because I was not supposed to be born in 1983 when I was born. I was supposed to be born like 100 years down the line. But something with like my father and I being soul bonded and connected, he was going to die way before his time if I wasn't born, and that would have changed the course of my life eventually. It was I didn't understand a lot of it, and the way it was explained, I understood it in the time, but to repeat it. So basically, I had a decision to make: either be born too early with all this connection still to, the other planes and to spirit, or wait it out and let him pass on and see what my life would have been like when I was eventually supposed to be reincarnated. Um,
Okay.
which I thought
Well, you
was
just sorry.
really
Um,
interesting.
Thank you. But you answered one of my other questions I was going to ask as far as whether you believed in reincarnation or not. And so I need to ask, are you familiar with Dolores Cannon?
I know the name. I probably researched her, or depending I know the name very well, but I couldn't tell you how.
Okay. I'm not like completely up to date with her, but I know who she is. But I heard her speak about soul contracts. Are you familiar with that? So
Yeah,
what
I
you what
talk about
I
them
was
all
gonna
the
say.
time.
Okay. I was gonna say what you were saying made me think that was the first thing that came to my head. So and as far as the reincarnation thing, you that's the other thing that came straight to me. So and I love what you said whenever you said that what you're saying, you don't want to offend anybody because this is your belief, this is your experience, and I think that personally, I believe that we're all like a fractal or a piece of the universe or God or source or however you want to say it. And like you said, I don't want to offend anybody because it's my belief, but I think that we're all a unique piece of the universe, and our life is conditioned us to be who we are, up to the moment where me and you are right now and everybody else. And
Yep.
our experiences are going to be different from everybody else's. So
I
what
feel
might be true for me and what's true for you might not be true for everybody else.
I feel
Um,
too
so go
that
ahead.
that like I feel like that's why there's a lot of division in this community, in the supernatural, paranormal, and even the extraterrestrial community. Let me tell you why. I feel like there's so much division because there's this awakening of the collective going on. And you and I doing this is a little piece. What we do on SOR, that's a little piece. What's going on throughout YouTube, everyone has a little piece. But if we're kept divided somehow, we're not going to be able to put those pieces together. And that's why I always say that you can believe what you want to believe, and I still love you, accept you, and I want to hear it. I want to know how it jives with what I believe, and I'm so interested in it. But there are so many people that are closed off. That's like, no, you know, that I've been called a liar. Like, no, nobody can have that many things going on. And that's okay. That's your experience. Maybe you've never experienced that and it scares you or whatever. But I feel like if we'd all just get together and take our separate piece, we might end up with almost a whole. Do you know what I mean? Hey, Ghost Dragons.
Yeah, completely. And I say puzzle pieces all the time. I compared all of us to that experiences, or people who may not even be experiencers or may not be aware of their experiences.
They're fit
If they're
into
just they're believers, yeah,
non-experiencers. Yep.
exactly. They're believers. I mean, I think we could all be experiencers in some type of way and not even realize it. I don't want to get too much on me because I want this to be about you, but I I didn't start. So I was a skeptic a little over a year ago, and then I started having these undeniable orb experiences. And really, the first or orb UFO craft, whatever you want to call them, my very first one was like 5 years ago, and I just kept it in denial. I didn't say anything to hardly anybody about it, and it was with my friend who I had a near-death experience with. Well, after it got undeniable, and I went to the Bledsoe family's house, and I had a really profound experience with them, which I showed you the video of that. That's when I got to the point where I'm like, okay, this is real. I've got footage of it and witnesses.
That was
I don't care if
intense.
people believe. Yeah, it was life changing and it was powerful too.
I was
Um,
emotional when I watched it.
Thank you.
Like, picking
You
up
know
on
what?
whatever that was made me very emotional.
That actually means a lot that you said that. 'Cause whenever that happened, and God, I don't want to seem like I'm overly emotional, but so
I
Chris
am.
Bledsoe
Be
looked at
overly
me.
emotional.
Well, right whenever the orbs started appearing, and Chris actually sensed these orbs coming. Like 10 minutes before it happened, I spent like 5 hours with him. He told me, earlier that day, not everybody can go over there and have an experience, and that has a lot to do with frequencies. But he said he felt like an energy or like a static, and he looked at me and he said, "Josh, we're gonna have an experience tonight." And 10 minutes later, these orbs started appearing everywhere. But when it happened, after like the first couple ones came up, and we've got like 3 people, and I'm sitting here recording this, and he's letting me use his night vision stuff. Chris looked at me and he noticed that my eyes were getting a little glossy, and he's like, "It's okay,
Mhm.
Josh. I get emotional when it happens sometimes too." And I just told him, like, you don't know what it means. I thought I was going crazy. That's really what was going on with me. I thought I was losing my mind. And for me to be able to go over there and have that experience and have witnesses with me, like just confirm that it was reality.
That
It just,
validation's really important sometimes, especially I think with people who are skeptical to have. I know so many people, and not to cut you off, but it's important what you just said,
um,
because I know so many people who are skeptical, even that come into these rooms and are just like, and I always think, why are the skeptics in here? Probably because they've had some kind of experience, and it's a shame that they feel that way. But I get really emotional too, because I feel like I could have been doing this all along and not almost killed myself for 5 years. Do you know what I mean? And
yeah,
sometimes the
definitely.
spirit just gives me emotion. Like, if I'm connecting with a client and their loved one comes through, if that person is very, very light, I cry. I do it on Wednesday nights when I'm doing oracle reading. Sometimes one of my friend's daughter who passed away comes through, and she's so intense. I start crying during the stream. It's just what I do now, because it's sometimes they're light. So I think whatever, at least one or two of those orbs were something really, not that all of them aren't special, but something even more special to have appeared to you. Because for me to get that reaction through my phone screen that I was watching it, that I could say almost never happened to me.
Oh, thank you. One more thing on that, and then I want to get back onto your story. I spoke to him, Chris, on the phone just like a week or two ago, and he told me that, or he congratulated me and told me to keep doing what I'm doing right now with this podcast. And he said that he believes what happened that night has a huge part of why I'm doing this. And I told him I've been thinking that. But so I want to ask you a few things. Um, well, you kind of already answered one of the things I was going to ask. I was going to ask you, did you think at all whenever you were younger that, I think you already answered this. Do you think that you were going crazy a little bit, or did you like question your sanity?
The only time I questioned my sanity, I think because I was seeing it from such a young age, it was just to me like, I don't know. I know this is happening, and crazy people act crazy to me. I wasn't acting crazy. I was just, but when I had a really mean stepmother and she would say to me, stop your retard stuff, and she didn't say stuff, or I'm going to have you locked up. And that's when I started thinking, oh man, is there something wrong with me? Because my dad didn't believe it. My dad's very skeptical. He thought I was having imaginary friends, but he didn't speak to me that way until she started doing it. And my mom, who's 100% Native American, I was raised half by my dad and then half by my mom. So at that time, I was with my dad, and I would just see my mom on weekends. And my mom would be like, "It's okay, but maybe it's something you shouldn't talk about." Because at that time, it wasn't so acceptable to talk about. She was afraid that of what people would say about me or to me, and that they would hurt my feelings or whatever. So But no, it never
Yeah.
occurred to me that I was crazy because I knew what I was seeing. I still happens. I don't watch the news because, a missing person, the last missing person I saw all over YouTube, and I never say who they are, but I'll say it was a little girl and she's still missing, appeared to me. Brian Laundrie, I told one of my subscribers, I think 2 weeks before they found him, I'm like, he keeps coming to me. And I described exactly how he was found, and he was saying how he couldn't be, crossed over or something because there was a curse because everyone hated him. And she said she was seeing the same thing. And sure enough, within 2 weeks, he was found exactly where we knew he was going to be. But what do? You can't go to the police and be like, I had a psychic dream. You know how well that works out, especially in a case like that, which, like, I didn't bring it up to talk about the case, but things like that happen. So eventually I finally just stopped watching the news. I don't want to know. And you'd be surprised. You said something earlier, and I don't know why it made me think of this because I can't remember now what it was because I'm like nervous. I'm always nervous in interviews. But you had said something, and I remember thinking, oh, you were saying how some people might just be on like a different frequency, but you feel like everyone could if they would open up or something like that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's true because I always tell you guys, a lot of you follow me through what I do for the most part. But like going just into your local grocery, okay? I don't go grocery shopping much anymore either. There's spirit everywhere. Like dead
Yeah.
people. Like if you can see them and you don't put up, like I have to put up blocks before I go out. It takes me like 25 minutes just to close myself off. And when I forget to do that, when I'm running out quick, I'll see 17, 18, 19, 25 dead just wandering around the local grocery store because it has to do with the land and it has to do with me. If you've been dead 200 years and someone finally acknowledges you, someone said this to me the other night, one of my subscribers, aren't you going to want to talk to that person? And then they end up following you. So, but if everyone was open on whatever frequency clairvoyance is, everyone would be seeing those dead people. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Completely. It's kind of like whenever Chris is saying not everybody can go over there and have an experience. And he even said that one bad apple could spoil a bunch. Like if one person goes over there and they're looking just for like self gain, or they're very skeptical,
Yep.
that everybody there might not have an experience. And it's also kind of why I was going to ask you have God, I need to grab a pencil in a minute because I'm getting so many questions in my head.
That's
Like I
okay.
want to write some things down.
That's all
I
right.
was going to ask, have you ever heard of like, so for example, Skinwalker Ranch? I'm sure you're
Mhm.
familiar with what that is.
Yep.
I've heard stories about people being there, and there will be like two people right next to each other, and they both, either one has an experience and the other doesn't, or they may even have two completely separate experiences. Do you think that I want to know what your opinion is on that, or do you think that these energies or entities or whatever, do they have an ability to maybe like zone in on a particular person's frequency, kind of like tuning in on a radio dial?
I feel like, first of all, I'm sorry I didn't say hi. Just hi to everybody, but Lotus Girl, Wes, Gordium, Dragons, Jake specifically. Those are my crew there. Grandmaster, what's up? So as far as that, I think any otherworldly entity, I'm sure can change our perception or view. But when it comes to lower vibrational, negative, evil, demonic, and I do think there are different, I think each one of those words I just said is a different level of low, like negative. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
demonic being the most evil and an evil, and then, but I do think they have the ability to change our perception very much. And I feel like they do have the ability to zone in on one person. So they might give both people an experience, but one of those people is the focus of their attention and the other one is being distracted. And that is my full viewpoint on that. I've seen an entity actually right before it went to attack my mother, and it was a jinn. um my toddler had woken up first. It was me, my mom, and my toddler. We're all sleeping in my mom's big old bed, having a little slumber party. I hadn't seen my mom in a while. And um my son wakes up in the middle of the night and just points to my mom's feet and starts screaming, no, no. And then all of a sudden he just stopped screaming and just was out. He's only three
Wow.
and a half. He's not just going to do that. Within seconds, my mother had jumped up screaming, no, she did. And it was this whole big thing. Most of you follow me. I've told this story so many times, but my point is they also have the ability to like knock out, because my son slept through this whole thing of like my mom screaming, my stepfather freaking out, me screaming for my mom, my son running in the room. And right after my mom calmed down and laid back down in the other room, my 3.5-year-old woke up and he was just Mom, can I have some milk? Like,
Like
like
nothing was wrong.
it
Wow.
knocked him out so as for him not to alert her. And I think things like
Wow.
that happen all the time. Later on, I could tell you about separate memories my father and I have of two separate events. He has one memory of how it happened, and I have a different memory.
Yeah, that's like exactly like what I was saying. If you don't mind, because I really
Go
need to
ahead, do you.
write
I'll talk to
something.
the
I
chat for
need
a
to
second.
grab a. Okay, I'm just gonna grab a pencil real quick, and I will be
Go
right.
ahead. What's up, guys? What's up, Simon? Mid South Sasquatch. That's a new name for me. Grandmaster UV. I absolutely love your little profile picture there. Nightmare. I'm so sorry I didn't see you. Oracles and Beyond. Thank you so much for coming in. I hate not being able to say hi to everyone individually. But you can't do that every single time, you know? And also for anyone who was in my stream last night, I am sorry the way I had to end it. My Wi-Fi actually didn't go back on till like 2 in the morning. So thank you guys for that, for being patient with that. So nice to see all of you there. Always supporting me. So cool. Supporting Josh, supporting the collective of what we're trying to do here. Oh, that didn't take long.
Thank you. And what you just said, the collective, that actually, and yeah, thank you everybody in the chat, by the way, for being here. Really for thinking, supporting us. You said something about the collective. You reminded me. I wanted to get back to that earlier because last Sunday, me and Spooky Morales, we started a new segment on this channel, and actually I was gonna say I think you'd be perfect to maybe do a segment that later on down the road if you're interested. But
Yeah, of
exactly what you
course.
were talking about with the I think there's a very it might be a little I think it's kind of understated, but to like people like me and you and people in this community, I think it's really evident that there's like this shift, or what do you want to call it, an awakening or an ascension that's
I
happening
call it
in the
a
world.
collective spiritual awakening. I have so many clients are like, "What's going on with me?" And I'm like, people think spiritual awakening because when you're like, and it's not. It's like being in a padded cell wanting to rip out all of your hair and having no visitors because no one gets it. I actually counsel a lot of people. Thanks, Enzo. I
Mhm.
counsel a lot of people through that and try to explain to them like this is a dark night of the soul, you know?
You're the second. I just heard that for the first time last week. By the way, I was on that one time I was abducted by aliens. Bree and Jamie. I was on their chat, and I was talking about how I kind of went to like 5 very dark years after my near-death experience, and then after that, it things started getting a lot better, and they referred to it as Dark Night of the Soul. I just want to say that's just it's kind of synchronistic. I never heard of that until here recently. Um,
Yeah.
Actually, if you don't mind, because I didn't get like a full um definition, I guess, or and maybe for people in the chat who don't know, what exactly does that mean, Dark Night of the Soul?
For me, a dark night of the soul is almost the same thing as well, I don't want to say it's the same thing as a spiritual awakening. You go through a dark night of the soul while you're going through a spiritual awakening, but you can also go through a dark night of the soul. For me, I'm currently going through one as an awakening. The best definition I can give is just like when you feel like everyone says I got bad luck. When you feel literally, but it's not like you didn't win the lottery. When it's like your life is falling to shreds, falling to pieces, you are helpless to stop it. No matter what you do, you can't stop it. Then you don't want to stop it anymore because you're just like, this is my life now. For example, when I was in my addiction, I was running hard every single day. I weighed 86 pounds and, my hair was falling out in clumps. And I was just like, well, this is my life now. But at the end of the night, I would sit and I would cry and I would be like, God, why are you doing this to me? Why does it have to be my life? And then, all my friends left and then all my family left. And I was like, well, this is my life. That's a dark night of the soul when you truly feel inside your whole entire being and spirit hopeless. But when it's for a spiritual awakening, somehow you always end up connecting with people like us, people in this community. And that's when you start to realize that maybe this particular dark night of the soul is your awakening. And I do feel that people that are like constantly in a state of dark night of the soul, like me, I think I've been in dark night of the soul for like 28 years until finally I started looking for answers. I stopped denying what I can see and what I can do. And I started just being me. And you know what? Now I realize that every single bad thing that's ever happened to me that I always cursed, I can look back on now for the most part and be like, oh, that's why that happened because it led me here, or that's why this is. And that's when you're going through that awakening. And actually, once you realize that and realize what that really means, it's actually a beautiful thing, and life gets a little more tolerable even when you've hit bottom. Exactly. Too much information. Welcome.
Hmm. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. And God, I got chills whenever you're saying it. Really. So so I know I spoke to you privately a little bit about my I went through a near death experience. I struggle with addiction to pain medications after my experience as well. I broke like half my body and spent half a year in a wheelchair. It's I showed you some of the pictures. When I was in a coma. It's bad.
Yeah.
But I thought for so long that that was the worst possible thing that ever happened to me, and I clung to it. I would think, oh, I should be in the military. I could be doing this. I could have been in college, but this happened. I kept blaming it on this so much. And one thing actually, there's a couple of things I didn't tell you, and I don't want to focus too much on me, but so I don't know if I mentioned this to you, but 5 years after the drunk driver hit me, my mother. This is my life. I've had like override over sorry, synchronicities have just been going like kind of on overload. Sorry, I got tongue tied there.
It's okay.
Um, so this guy that hit me that almost killed me 5 years after my near death experience, and some of the people in this chat, I know they already know this. My mom starts dating this guy. Turns out she lives across the street directly from the man who almost killed me. And I'm just like, what in the fuck? It felt like a cool joke from God.
That's
It's almost at the
crazy.
time. Yeah, yeah, it's bizarre, and the synchronicities of just they keep happening like this. And at first, I'm thinking, like, what is going? It's like glitches in the matrix type thing. But so I was going through them 5 years of darkness, like I was talking about earlier, and then one day I'm going to my mother's house. I work night shift, and I'm pulling up there, and I'm just struggling with all these internal issues. And right before I pulled to my mother's house, I started having all these thoughts. I'm thinking on the right side of the road, I got the woman who gave me life, and on the left side is the guy who almost took away my life. I pull over to the side of the road and I pull out a sheet of paper, and I'm thinking I'm doing this for closure. I write down, I'm not going to let these negative emotions control me for the rest of my life. And before I pull into my mother's house, I look to the left and I see the guy outside in his yard, and it felt like something took over my body, literally. And I pulled into his driveway and I got out of the car and I walked up to him and I handed him the letter and I shook the hand of the guy who almost killed me. And I turned around and walked away. And when I did, I don't, I'm sitting here talking about like getting emotional again, but I got emotional, and it felt like I took 100 demons off me at one time.
You
And
did.
so whenever, yeah, I really do
You
feel
did.
that way. And whenever you were talking about the whole Dark Knight, this whole thing, that's what was going through my head the whole
You
time.
did. It's
But
like Lotus Girl said, there's lots of really deep inner work. What's that Michigan UFO? There's lots of deep inner work that takes a lot to do, and it takes years and years, but some of it is as simple as that. Not that it was simple, but you know what I mean? It didn't take a year to do. It was a thought, and I believe your angels guided you and guarded you, and put that thought into your mind. And I also believe there were some devils on you that were telling you to do something else too, and you made that choice. And I'm proud of you for that. And I'm getting emotional because I can feel like your emotion through looking at you right now. And that had to have been so hard, but you are 100% right. You took so much evil and negativity and juju off of your even like picture your aura, right? Like just picture it out to here, all these colors. That's what most people think auras are. So just picture it like that. And think of all these black Klingons just clinging onto it. And when you did that, it was, and they all flew off. That's the best way I can explain it. So now you're
right,
much lighter because your aura is not hanging on you. You don't have that dark. And that's how I explain it kind of to my clients when they do something like, confront or offer forgiveness in a non confrontational way to someone who almost killed them, or, an abuser or something. So you did. You're
right,
right on with that. You definitely did.
right. Thank you. I appreciate that. And you're right. I mean, I struggled. I went through a lot of dark stuff for like 5 years, but that moment, it was one moment where I just did something in just a couple minutes, and it changed everything for me. I really appreciate that. I didn't mean to get so much on me. But
No.
I really do appreciate that. It means a lot. I want to ask, whenever it comes to these people, I know I'm kind of changing subjects a little bit, but that really did mean a lot to me. I really appreciate that. When it comes to these um apparitions or these spirits that are still here, why exactly do you think it is that certain ones are kind of like are they like stuck between realities or whatever? Is there why exactly do you think it is the reason that they can't pass on to the other side? Is what I'm trying to ask.
Well, there are a few different reasons. Some of them have passed on and do come back in whatever form, they are. There are, earth angels are reincarnated angels, so they'll come back in and,
I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you. I'm so sorry. I meant the murder the ones who it
Oh,
seems like it
yeah, because
died
I was gonna say
traumatically.
it really depends
Okay.
on who it is, but,
Yeah.
I believe it's because, number 1, they think I can help just cross them over. Number 2, somehow, even through, like, I still haven't figured it out, but even just through, like, TV, I don't know how I don't know how it is to be a spirit, but somehow they know I'm not the only one who sees them, that I can maybe help them, but you know, a lot of them are lost and confused. A lot of them, like, especially if their bodies haven't been found. And it's
Okay.
hard
That's
to
true.
cross someone over if their body hasn't been found, in my experience. But I feel like they don't have closure. I'll tell you, I channeled, and someone else on YouTube channeled them too. And I don't like to say her name, but I'll people know who she is. It was back in 2004, a woman from California was pregnant, like 8.5 months pregnant, and her husband killed her and threw her in the bay. I've channeled her completely by accident, and someone on YouTube has channeled her on purpose. And she said the same thing. After he killed her, she didn't just go into the light. One, she wanted to be with her family. She said, two, she followed his butt around the house, being like, really? 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 You literally just killed me? Like, and while he had his coffee and ate his breakfast and all that, but, hey, Connor. But, she stayed around, to help out her family. And when her body was found, she was able to be crossed over. I don't really know how it works, but I think they come to me because if their body's been found and they don't wanna stick around to, like, wait for justice or whatever, I can cross them over. And, a lot of the times they don't appear with, like, their death face on, and they just want connection, and they just talk to me. Like, I literally
Okay.
just have everyday conversations with some of them, especially the little kids. They
Yeah,
wanna play
and
with
I,
my son, and they do. He can see them too. He's special like us, and I definitely encourage it in him. I don't tell him not to, you know what I mean, acknowledge. When he has to go to
yeah,
school, I'll figure it out. But I think a lot of them just want someone to talk to. Past life wife, Connor and I have a few past lives together. We are, soul bonded, he and
mhm,
I. And we met on
mhm.
YouTube like this, so that's the synchronicities you're talking about that happen to us all the time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I gotta say, I've met so many people. I know I mentioned this to you probably in the past years, just in this community. And it's so crazy because just ever since I started having these intense experiences, I'm not going to say I've isolated myself from my family, and I'm not hiding it from them. I just don't want to dump all this information on them. Some of them have found out. I know I've told you I found out a couple of my family members actually are experiencers, whether they know it
Right.
or not. And I don't want to hear people's criticism because whether they believe it or not isn't going to change the reality of it. But I'll let them find out on their own pace. But I'm sorry I got so sidetracked there.
Don't
What you were
don't
saying earlier.
apologize. We're just talking, so it's
Yeah.
not like there's any
Um,
itinerary for the show. I don't mind if you tell me about yourself.
um, yeah. I mean, I just definitely want to get some of these questions about you. When, like I said, my mind just goes on overload
I'll always
sometimes,
come
and
on again. Don't worry.
well, what you're saying, it's like just making me get so many questions I want to ask you. That's why I had to grab this pen and paper real quick. But
You're so
your
cute.
answer, thank you. So your answer that you gave earlier, I feel like you kind of gave multiple. So there's like multiple reasons, and that's or like why spirits could be staying here. Like maybe some of them, the trauma might have been so significant for them. Is that what you're saying that it's kind of like
Yeah,
um
and I'm sorry, but I wanna
yeah,
clarify too, the ones who, like, did like, the murderers who then take their own lives or end up, they come to me usually just because, I guess they forget that, like, you can't just call the cops and be like, "This murderer guy killed," like, you can't do that, and they want some kind of help from me, but they're afraid to go forward. They don't realize everything is love and light, and what you do on this earth probably like the woman that I was talking about, and I go off on tangents too, I'm sorry. But the woman I was talking about, she actually was soul contracted with him for him to do this to her. And because in a past life that they had together, he was her little sister and she was mentally ill and she killed him. And that's not about karma, that's about the contract. So they don't realize it until they cross over that it's part of a contract. So you're not going to be punished. And people that die suddenly, like I'm convinced I didn't get a visitation right away from my older son's father passed away suddenly recently at 39 years old, and I didn't get a visit right away, and I was pissed. And then I remembered, like, duh, Gemma, when they pass away that suddenly and don't know, they have to go through a lot of reconditioning to get reacclimated to be on that plane, because I don't believe he died at an exit point. I believe it was completely and totally by accident. And that's kind of what he said once he did come around. So they come for all different reasons, but mainly it's because they don't understand contracts and bonds and why did this happen to me. But if they would just cross over, they would get all of the information, and that's kind of what I tell them a lot of the time. Like and then a lot of the time it's so they can be with their family, sometimes through trial, sometimes a particular family member's taking it hard, things like that. So
Right.
many different reasons. It's like, why did I decide to wear this shirt? I mean, why did you decide to put that back? It's like these little decisions, they have them too, It doesn't go away till you cross over. They're like stuck there between human and spirit now.
Right. I've had this quote that I've always loved that I don't know where I got it, but struggle is nature's way of strengthening. That's what you made me think there.
And it's so true.
So and other one, I'm sorry. You're also saying that like sometimes there may be some kind of like unfinished business, maybe here on this side,
Right.
that maybe and I gotta say I'm new into to all this, like the paranormal, the ET, that just, but a lot of it I'm kind of like asking and just theorizing, kind of like through intuition, I guess, or just
Mhm.
what I feel
Through
like is, and a lot of it
what
I
you
am
know.
researching.
You might
Yeah.
not know you know it, but you know.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm, I'm learning with all of us, like you said earlier. And so what I say, like we said earlier, what's true for me and true for you may not be true for everybody else. And what I think is true for me right now, I might not think is true, later on down the road. Um, well, I gotta say, y'all in the chat, y'all are, thank you so much. Y'all
This
are,
is
if
my
y'all see
family
me
in
on,
the chat.
thank you. I know somebody earlier said I'm so laid back, and sometimes I am. But if you see me, sometimes if I'm in the mood, like on Chad Smith podcast or Paranormal Chop Shop, you'll see I have a very goofy side sometimes. But life is too short, you got to laugh and have fun.
John Hudson
um,
asked me a couple weeks ago when we were on SOR, I was talking about, like, I'm like, when I get mad, and he's like, wait a minute. He's like, do you have video of this? I was like, of what? He's like, of you getting mad? I'm like, why would I have video? He's like, because you're so sweet. He's like, I can't even, he's like, what do you do? Like, whisper loudly? I was like, dude, you have no idea. Like, I will attack you. Like, and that's one of the things I'm working on myself. But I also have a really goofy side, but I try really hard to spread love and humility and not be that person. I think that's the thing about working on ourselves and going through these spiritual awakenings is like always being accountable, always saying you're sorry, and always like realizing, like, when that happens and I really flip, I got to remember, like, yo, Gemma, that's not what we're doing here. And that's when I know I have to get back to basics and really get in touch with, like, my guides and talk it out. I did blow up a microwave. I was like, son of
yeah,
a,
you mentioned that.
and it just went poof. My son was like,
You,
"There's a fire." It literally caught fire on the inside. It was bad.
you mentioned that to me too. I thought it was so funny. And I've told you I've had just a few times I've had some weird electronic malfunctions, but I've been around Chris Bledsoe, and real specifically, I was talking to him on the phone, and he told me that his truck just shut off going down the road. And at first, I'm thinking, like, oh, okay, that could be anything, but I didn't know anything about like these frequencies people have,
Mhm.
messing with electronics and stuff around him or around people. And right after he tells me this, my phone shuts off. Like while I'm talking to him, after he tells me, and it was charged up all the way. It wasn't just charged; it's plugged up, and it's really weird and bizarre. And he tells me after I call him back that, stuff like that happens to him all around. I mean, all the time. Sorry, I get tongue tied. My jaw's been wired shut. He he tells me like he can't wear a watch. Things just mess up around him all
Yeah.
the time, and
Yep.
it's been theorized that it's because he's had contact with an entity. Um, Once again, I keep
Gemma
getting distracted from
smash.
what I keep getting distracted from what I want to ask you.
I'm all over the place too because I'm just having so much fun.
Yeah, yeah, and you're triggering a lot of thoughts in my head, which is great. So I want to get this question because I've been wanting to ask you this from the very beginning. Whenever it comes to I know we got on a little bit earlier, and I think what you're real quick. I want to say what I think is that a lot of people don't want to question their own reality, but I want to ask you, why do you think it is? Because I know you have a religious side to you, it's a religious spiritual side. Why do you think it is that whenever you look in things like religions, any religion, and things like miracles or people being healed or walking on water, and you mention that to certain religious people, or you mention something more paranormal or supernatural, extraterrestrial, like what we're talking about, and they look at you like you're crazy. When really, I think it's kind of paranormal on both sides. It's something out of this world.
I say that too. Spirit is paranormal, but I actually do have an answer for that. First of all, I want to say that when I first started reading Oracle publicly, and when I announced kind of on my channel and started getting this paranormal, what I was, that I was clairvoyant and I didn't want to hide it anymore and all that. I was accused by someone in my church of necromancy. And I had to get up in front of my congregation with my pastor and deny it. Not because I really had to, but my pastor said, you should address this publicly because you're a member and you volunteer here. And I did. And had no problem doing it. But I'll give you my reason, honestly. And I was just talking to someone about this because of a video I put out today. People started a religious debate in my comments. And I was like, oh my God, like I got to turn comments off. I think it's because a lot of us as humans, and we all do it at one point or another, really only can look at things in a human perception, like as a human, not realizing, in my opinion, I believe that the Bible was written by God, and I believe that a lot of holy books were written by holy people. Okay. But as
Mhm.
humans, number one, a lot of us just don't want to accept what's going on. We'd rather have everything packed up in a neat little package and go about our day and everything's good. But number two, I think the main reason is because we want to put a human, like, we can only think as humans about things like the Bible or the Quran or the Torah, whatever. And we don't realize that it comes from spirit, it comes from the creator, it comes from source, whatever. And we are interpreting it, that's the word I was looking for, as humans and not as it's supposed to be interpreted. And I do really believe that. I believe in all religions. I'm a Christian. I believe in Jesus.
Thank you.
Jesus is my rock star. But I do believe that other religions have a lot of it right too. I believe it's all just, I believe we're all going to the same place, and it's a place of love and light and peace. And if you effed up on this plane while you were human, I believe 99% of the time it's because you were contracted or bound to do so, and you're fine. And people got mad at me and said I was saying that we should be sympathetic toward Hitler because he had come up, and I'm like, dude, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying on a spiritual level, when we're in places like what you want to call heaven, okay, when you return to source, he's not Hitler anymore. Just using him as an example. I'm not advocating for him. That's not who he is anymore. And he was contracted, because I've seen someone channel him, to do that. Just like we're contracted to do a lot of the major things in our lives too. But I think all of this opening up that we're doing, this is us just reconnecting to what we already knew when we were first born or in the womb or whatever, that's been kind of pushed out of us by society. So we don't need to be contracted to do this. I'm an earth
Hmm.
angel. I'm a reincarnated angel who is here to listen to people. That's my job, and help heal them.
Okay.
You,
So I don't want to offend anybody. I'm trying to be careful with what I say here, but whenever you talk about people who have had more of a negative impact on humanity, do you think that they've been contacted by maybe a more malevolent kind of entity, or do you think that whenever they move on, they have to, if they reincarnate, they have to, that karmic debt is kind of tied to them after that, or something like that, and it just because I believe in free will, and I'm sure you do too, but
Mhm.
I kind of think free will and fate go hand in hand a little bit. I always say that I think certain things are going to happen whether we want it to or not.
Right.
Like when I was hit by that drunk driver, I had no control over that, but the way I responded to it is how So I think our destiny is determined by how we respond. Whenever fate knocks at our door, is
I
what I'm trying
agree.
to say.
That's the thing with the soul contracts, is that those are the things that you kind of can't get out of. In my opinion, it's in my experience, it's the only exception to free will, which is why like we all have like one contracted thing. Um, but I do think we do have free will on the other hand. And I also feel that some people are overtaken by demonic entities. And I would have said that, the guy I just mentioned previously I would have had no idea that was contracted to happen. And I actually had to look into it and research and study how it changed everything, in certain ways. So I believe in all of it. I believe that it's different for everybody. It's different depending on your experience. It's different depending on what you believe. And that's the problem when skeptics come in. They're like, well, you don't even have an explanation for this. And your explanation for this contradicts your explanation for that. But you know what? It's all relative. It's all about the collective and it's all about experience. But I do
Yeah,
believe that a lot of the time people can be overtaken by these lower vibrational entities. I believe a lot of the time that's not the case, though. I believe major things that happen are part of contracts that somebody has to take that on. I believe that people who act out of free will and can do things like commit murder or horrible crimes or whatever, I do believe that they have to pay for that in another life. Yes, I do. If it's not
yeah,
contracted, yes, I believe that their karmic debt is going to be paid in many lifetimes.
yeah, and I want to say earlier you mentioned that you think there's truth in all religions. I I feel the same way. Once again, I don't want to offend anybody in the chat, but I don't personally feel like religions were ever supposed to. I came up with this myself. Divide and frighten people. I think that what they should do and kind of what the more spiritually awakened people do is it unites and enlightens. I feel like people
Yeah.
turning not just religions, but people who have been enlightened or have these abilities, they kind of take that and they're like, okay, we're going to isolate this and make it more into a government to keep people in check and keep them
They have their
in
own
control.
agenda. They're turning
Yeah,
it into their own agenda for whatever reason. I agree 100%.
yeah, definitely. So you brought up the whole thing about like lower entities attaching to people, and that's something I wanted to ask you about as well because I recently spoke to somebody and they said that a family member of theirs had some type of lower frequency being, whether it was a demon or whatever it was, and it was attached to them, and they had to get somebody to come, I guess, give them an exorcism or whatever it was, to kind of pray away, and ended up taking like a few people apparently who are like really into all this stuff. And they said that the person hadn't been able to do it, even though people had been telling them because somebody said a grandmaster up here. He said
I have a
demons don't
comment on that.
have any power. That's why I was about to comment, and I'm not trying to say that he's I don't know what I want to go ahead and say what I was told. So this person had this entity attached to them, and they had to get it off of them. But one of the people, I guess, that was doing this exorcism or whatever it was, um, ended up getting like they said they felt something really bad, kind of like I guess negative, and the person who they were talking to said that they'll let go of him when he lets go of me. This was apparently the lower frequency being that was talking, and
Oh,
so
wow.
I want to know like what's your opinion because apparently I guess this person had so even though they had wanted it gone, the entity or whatever from what they're telling me sounds like that it was being held against his will as well, but just because I guess this person was holding on to all that negativity. So
Right.
what's your opinion on that? I just want to ask you.
Well, when people talk about inner demons, they're like there is a thing, and I've seen cases where someone's inner demon actually came out and presented itself as a demon that was haunting them because they were just so down on themselves. They had had like an accident, they weren't working anymore, and that's usually when it happens. They would look in the mirror and be like, "You're a scum. You can't take care of your family." And guess what? They kind of made this actual demonic entity, but it was actually coming from self, and they had to work with like a chaos magician and all these things. But that's one end of it. I believe demons, it's not, and I just disagree a little bit with what was said. Demons, it's not that they don't have any power. They have a lot of power because of the fear that we all are told to have of them. Well, most of us are. And I feel like if you don't fear them, they'll go out of their way to make you. And if you still don't, then yes, they have no power. But I think right from the door, we're going to be scared of something like that. Like, I believe I met the devil himself. But he did it in a way when he approached me that it was like kind of set up as a dream. So it really wasn't as scary as it would have been. But I feel like you can take their power from them. But I do feel they have power. And I do believe very much in demonic entities. I've met several. And they scare the crap out of me. You know, I don't want them anywhere near me. You know, I'm currently in school, actually, like enrolled in a school that I paid to go to, where I'm learning about all of this stuff, because I don't want to get out of control like I did in high school with putting, you know, curses on people and having not realizing how it's coming back to me really bad. Because I was cocky and arrogant, and I was picked on a lot, and I was bullied. So I used my natural abilities, and it wasn't good. So I actually am learning all of these things too, learning as I go. Um, it's really a beautiful thing. Do you know what I mean? To
Yeah.
gain knowledge, and even to disagree, to be like, thank you guys. You guys are so sweet. Um,
Mhm.
to disagree and hear someone else's point of view. And that doesn't mean you have to change your mind and go with what they think, but to do that, man, with respect and love, and be like, wow, like, I see where you're coming from on that. I never thought of it that way. And then like just move on with your opinion still intact. So many people can't do that. And I found
Mm. Yeah.
so many people, um, you know, grandmaster, that's amazing. You know, Jesus is my higher power, and when I've been approached by demons, I've been terrified. But I've got to, you know, agree with you maybe a little bit, because I do have that higher power. I've never been like overcome, and they've never stayed around long. So maybe you're right, maybe they didn't have any power over me because of that, you know. So
Right.
that's what I mean, you know. That's just a whole different viewpoint. And I love in this community all of us coming together and being able to, you know, approach each other with love, even if we have something different to say.
Right. And that kind of goes back to like what we said earlier at the beginning, that what's true for me or true for you may not be true for somebody else, because people are on different frequencies, and
But
we're
that
all
doesn't
like a
mean it's
unique.
not true, you know? It just
Yeah,
means that
yeah,
it's
exactly.
not what you think.
Yeah, just also like how I just mentioned, what's true for me right now may not be the same true for, me in the future. We're
It's true.
like on different frequencies and different moments of time, I guess. Um, and as far as like the whole demons and things, 'cause it kind of goes back on what I was going to ask you here a minute ago. Um, and whenever I say spirit, like I think energy, everything is energy in my
Mhm.
opinion. Like everything has a frequency. Literally, like a rock has a frequency.
It's
Something.
true.
And I use this a lot, and if I know people might be tired of hearing this if they watch me a lot, but I think about Albert Einstein. He has that law of conservation of energy, that nothing can be created or destroyed, only turned into another form of energy.
Yep.
I think about so like the chair that I'm sitting on is made of wood. You set it on fire, you're not taking away from the universe. It's just you're raising its vibrational frequency. It's turned to heat, and it rises. It can mix with the water molecules and rain down and grow into a tree and make oxygen that we all breathe. And it's connecting everybody. And I had that thought one day, and it makes you think of the Lion King, that circle of life thing. Kind of stupid.
I
um,
actually didn't, but that's
um,
awesome.
um, so, but I think about like, so if our conscience is like this self-aware uh, frequency, and it's real. You can't hold it or you can't see it, but if you have a thought, like a negative emotion, it literally can change your body's physiology.
And it can change your life.
you're negative. Yeah, change your life exactly. So I think about whenever we die and our physical body goes through that whole circle of life, it goes back to the earth. And where does that invisible conscience or soul, if you want to call it that, where does it go? I feel like, whenever we die, like whatever frequency we're at, because you know everything in
You're
our
right.
past up to that point, it's going to kind of condition us to be where we're at in that moment of time. I feel like that's probably going to have an effect of where it goes after we leave this life. I'm sorry, I know that was a lot, but
No, no, and
sorry,
I
go ahead.
followed all of it, and I agree with you, but I do wanna say too that I know, it's definitely my truth that, you can choose, hello, my wifey Marie. you can choose, and this gets into the extraterrestrial stuff, but you can choose to come here when your consciousness chooses to come to Earth. It's because you want to ascend spiritually, because Earth is the hardest. There's always, it's just hard, but you can choose. And this is just me. So anyone listening to this afterwards, like, I'm not saying you have to believe this, but if you look into it, you might be surprised by what you find. Um, you can choose to be like a tall white or a short gray, or wherever in the we're talking universal, we're talking cosmic energy. You don't have to be reincarnate as a human if you ascended to a certain level. So this whole awakening that's going on collectively really fascinates me, because I'm like, wow, like,
Where's it going?
where's
What's it
it
leading to?
going? Yeah,
Uh,
exactly. And I think it's going to get much, much, much worse, unfortunately, before it gets way better. But
mhm.
it's coming. I
Uh,
don't know if I'll be alive to see it, but my grandkids will.
Yeah, that's like the whole thing, the whole segment we started, the shifting paradigms, which honestly, this is kind of turning into that right now. And I do want to get more into your story because I want this to kind of be an interview for you and like your testimony. But yeah, you said that perfect, and that goes like the whole soul contract thing with Dolores Cannon, what she's talking about. It's exactly like what you're describing. And I wanted to say let me see here real quick. Okay, so we were talking earlier about I guess like about a place or like say an environment. Do you believe that let me see, make sure I word this right. Whenever something happens somewhere, like say there's like a civil war somewhere or something, or just like something big happens, that even if it's not just one particular person, that it kind of leaves like an imprint on that part of the world, kind of like I guess a residual kind of
Residual
like
energy, sure.
yeah, thank you. I couldn't find the word. Yeah. So you do believe that, like maybe that's why certain places might be considered haunted,
Oh,
I
I
guess,
believe
or
that 100%. I've seen it over and over again. I don't do investigations now, but I've done them just for about 6 months or so. They got a lot for me, like spiritually draining. But I have clients now that are dealing with things like that. They built a brand new house on, there's been nothing tragic going on in the land as far back as they can see, but that's as far back as they can see. There's a collective energy, there is residual. And I'll give you a quick example of that. The wall where the St. Valentine's Day massacre took place, okay,
Mhm.
where all those men got shot, the bullets got stuck in the wall, they hit the wall, blood on the wall, right? That wall is now in a museum. And they took a psychic and a medium and some, like, try to take some EVP in there, and it was people that I trusted when I watched it. It wasn't the Zach Bagans. It was something different. Everyone's like, "You trust him?" I'm like, "I like him, but I don't know." But you were hearing people say, "Oh my god, I just got shot. Did I just? It hit me. Oh my god, I'm bleeding." And that was what was coming through on the EVP. So it's not that the spirits are there reliving, like people think, over and over again. They're reliving this horrible death. That's not happening. They've moved on, I'm sure, but it's the residual energy is so strong from such a tragedy and something so evil and terrible, that the residual energy has not yet dispersed, and it's still there. And I think eventually it'll go into the ether wherever it goes, but it's still there all these years later. So I definitely believe in that because I've seen it.
Okay. Yeah, you answered my follow-up question. I was going to ask, do you think there's a way to cleanse that residual energy?
I think
Um,
chaos magicians clean up a lot. um you know Um, I talk about crisis apparitions a lot, but chaos magicians can clean up a lot of that. But I mean, it's just energy, so I don't want to say it can't affect the living, but I guess it can. I don't know where I was going with that.
no, no, you're completely okay. I understand. Um, so yeah, I love this conversation that we're having, but I want to get like a little bit more into like some of your experiences. The Okay, first I want to hear about the ET thing that you're speaking of, but I want to ask you, because me and Spooky on the shifting paradigms, we were saying that we feel like that there's some kind of connective thread, even though certain things might be separate. Some people think things are nuts and bolts. For me, I kind of got past the nuts and bolts real quick, and like I said, I think there could be things that are just straight from other planets that are just, that sorry, nuts and bolts, just technology, sorry. But
Right.
do you think that whether you're talking about paranormal or supernatural or spiritual or extraterrestrial, extra dimensional, whatever, do you think that there's something that connects all of it together? Because I kind of feel like that
Yeah.
gap is closing.
Yeah,
Okay.
I definitely do. I don't know, like you said, the gap is closing. It's definitely not closed yet. We have so far to go. But and I don't know what it is, but I definitely think so. A chaos magician is just part of, like, when you're trying to have a house cleansed or you're trying to get rid of apparitions. It's more for like apparitions, not poltergeist, but actual apparitions that like to cause chaos and havoc in a home. A chaos magician is the person who is able to kind of catch them and trap them and go release them somewhere where it's safe, or keep them somewhere. The exact definition I'm not gonna be able to tell you, but if you can look it up, it's actually really cool. I just started learning about them, which is why, like, I'm not very knowledgeable about them, but I have seen them used before, and it's crazy. It's
Mhm.
crazy to watch, but, look it up. It's really interesting. If you I don't know exactly how to explain what they are, but they're definitely used a lot in, like, people that are cleansing houses, or with not evil but not good entities. How do you really what do you do? And you call in a chaos magician, and they kind of trick it into leaving and then keep it out.
So would that be kind of I don't know if I'm saying this word right, but you said not evil but not good. So kind of neutral. Is it a sylph? Is that have you ever heard of that? Do you know what that is? Or
No, just I meant like just kind of hanging around because they realize, hey, I can do some cool stuff. And that's also
okay.
for evil entities too. Like I said, I'm just starting to learn about it. That's not the first time I brought it up and someone asked me and I was like, ooh, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it though quite yet. They're new to me, but I think they're really cool and I think everyone should know about them. I'd love to have that job,
Okay.
but I wouldn't be able to handle it. It's intense.
Okay.
Hey,
That's
Sunsaver.
Sunsaver. So this is I'm learning too about this Sunsaver. It's new to me, but like Jim said earlier, we're all puzzle pieces, trying to figure this out. And I don't think anybody has all the answers. But we were saying last week with spooky, I think this is all connected, and I think it's all really something so big and massive and just beyond what we can, probably even
And it's all
comprehend
super
in
relevant,
this
you
lifetime.
know?
Yeah. Yeah, because there's definitely something going on. I feel like whatever's happening today and this awakening that we're talking about, I feel like this greater force, what do you want to call it, God or the universe or these entities, where it's something stepping in right now. Is what I feel. And
Energetically, things are crazy.
yeah,
I've been telling my clients and also the people I read for, just my general readings for Moon Bear and my live streams. I've been saying, like, February and March, or January and February. Oh my gosh. Just energetically, from the first day of January, I have felt this massive just weight, just I can't, like, my life is just like a tragedy right now, and like I can't handle stress, and I'm just so outside of my element. Even with work, I'm like slowing down and I'm not connecting as well. I've got to do more, um pre-gaming before I can connect, and it's all this. And that is Sunsaver, exactly. It's a living universe. And that is January and February's energy without the retrograde. Just by the astrology, just by the energy, you can feel it. If especially if you're sensitive, it's horrible. And I keep telling people, just please push through until March. Push through until March, and I promise you, I'm not saying everything is going to change overnight, but the energy, you'll feel it, Josh. The energy, once March hits, like March 1st, not just because it's my birthday, but March 1st, seriously, there's going to be this whole just like and I guarantee you things start getting easier for everyone, especially if you're manifesting. Do those positive manifestations out loud, guys. Um, it's going to just open up. I believe 2022 is going to be really amazing once March hits. I feel like I don't know what's going on. I don't know why January and February are so oppressive. Even for me, like I felt like giving up and using again at least once a day, every day since New Year's Day. I don't do it obviously, but that's not something I just, you know, that's not me. I'm going out there, I'm getting it, and I'm done with that life. But these past 2 months, man, have been heavy, crazy, and people are relapsing all over the place. People are dying all over the place, not just from drug use, but from, crazy things, just giving up. And I believe
Yeah,
that it's just this oppressive freaking energy, man.
yeah. And that's I got chills early because it's wild that you say that because you're not the first person that's told me that here lately. I mean, just like in the past few weeks, I've had just a couple people telling me that 2022 is going to be a year of huge change. Um, yeah, I don't like I said, I don't know what it is. They didn't even really tell me what it was. It's been a couple people. One of them told me that they had an idea of what it could be. One of them told me a few things that they're thinking could be happening, may not be happening. I happen to believe like in the multiverse. I don't know if you
I
believe
do
in that.
too.
Okay, because you mentioned chaos magic earlier, and I'm not too familiar on that, but I know if you I don't know if you think about things like the butterfly effect, and
Hmm.
I'm kind of like a nerd for quantum physics, but like string theory and stuff, and I don't have any degrees or anything, but I do find it all fascinating.
I do
I think
too.
there's
I'm
an
actually
infinite.
researching quantum stealth right now.
Oh, wow, I need to check that out. I
Invisibility,
think it's.
baby.
Oh, wow. So like maybe
Nothing to
some
do
of
with
these.
anything you just said. I just heard quantum and
Yeah.
that popped into my head. Sorry.
um.
Easily distracted.
Would. Yeah, I understand. So, well, on that topic, quantum stealth. So I've seen one craft that was cloaked. And you just made me think about that, but I want to go back to what you mentioned earlier about well, I mean, tell everybody like in the chat who doesn't know like what made you get into the whole UFO community, like what makes you believe that you should be doing this, or if you had any
Okay.
experiences with it too.
Yeah. So, my whole life, with everything that I saw, um, I'm talking, demons and trolls, and I mean, I've run the gamut of my experiences from as far back as I can remember. But I've always been terrified of outer space. Like, even to read a science fiction book, and I'm a voracious reader, believe me. Um, I've always been scared of it, man. Like, and it just didn't make much sense. Like, something would come on about abductions and stuff, and I would start shaking, and tears would come out of my eyes, and the hair on my body would stand up, and I'd run when I was little, and when I was older, I'd be like, listen, I don't watch that, crap. Um, and actually, to the point where I would get like angry, and be like, listen, turn it off, man, like aggressive, which again is not usually my style. About 5 or 6 months ago, I was meditating and just trying to connect with my guides. And I can connect with my guides in 30 seconds, even without meditation. But I was having an issue and I'm like, what the hell is going on? So I'm like, okay. So I went to sleep and I was like, maybe they're, I don't know. It never happened before. So I was like, that's new. And I just went to sleep because they're my guides. They're always going to be there. It's not like they left me. Um, so I went to sleep, and that night I had a really vivid dream. And I used to have these seizures when I was little. They're normal. A lot of little kids have them, where you're sick, and like you go from having a normal body temperature to like 104 degrees Fahrenheit in like 20 seconds. They're called febrile or febrile. The doctors say they're normal. Don't It happened to my son, and the doctor's like, this happened every day. And I was like terrified because my son just had a seizure, but he's like, no big deal. So what happened, we would always know when I would have these seizures because I would hallucinate and like tell my mom, like, there's men coming in from the ceiling, and my dad would be like, oh, she's gonna go. And it was the 80s. So this happened in 1989. This dream I somehow knew because I saw myself laying on the couch, and I knew it was a memory of something that had happened. And there's two parts to this, so I'll tell you the first part first. My dad would just take me and put me in a bath full of cold water. I would come out, and then he would sit next to me. I'd lay on the couch. He'd sit next to me, and I would have on like a t-shirt, and he would put like ice rags on my body and just rub them, to keep my temperature down. And then he would carry me into bed, and I got to sleep with my parents that night. So I got this dream um, about my father as he went to put the ice rag on me. There was a light in the corner of the room, but I'm going to tell you guys about that because that's something separate. So two things were going on, but this is all of a sudden these beings came through the walls of my house and from the ceiling. And they looked green to me, but that's because there was like a bluish green light that accompanied them. But I don't know where it was really coming from, because where I was in my living room, there were two windows above me. It was the middle of the night, pitch black. But what was out those windows was an alleyway with a house about 3 inches next to it. So there was no way even like the moonlight could get in, even if the moonlight were bright bluish green. So I don't know where this light was coming from. No other windows in the living room. And these beings were all around my body. My father was frozen with the rag like this. And
What?
these beings all had their hands almost touching me. And they were all talking like this nonsense talk, but like telepathically.
Okay.
Um, and I also realized this is when I was able to start like reading people's thoughts. If I'm not careful, I can do that. Not all the time, and I really don't know how to control it. But so I remember them just basically telling me like it's okay, we're gonna help you. And this was the last one of these seizures I had had. Um, and anyway, after that, I just remember waking up the next day in my bed. They were there. I don't know how long. I don't know if they put me out or if I fell asleep. They exhibited an overwhelming sense of peace. They did look like what the Greys look like, tall and short, like with the big eyes and stuff, but I couldn't tell you which ones they were because again, they looked green to me, but they weren't. There are such a thing as little green men. They don't come from Mars. Whole other interview. But these were not green. They were different. So I think they were either the tall or short Greys. I just can't remember. But anyway, I jumped up and I was like, "Oh my God, like I could actually feel the ice from the ice bath my dad was giving me. Like that's, and I remember being really scared and I reached out for my spirit guides and they were like that, they told me what I already knew. That wasn't a memory. Why did that happen? I'm asking them, I'm crying, I'm shaking. Cause I'm at this point, I told you, I'm terrified of extraterrestrials in outer space. And they're like, it's not for you to know right now. It's just for you to experience. And that was new. That only happened when I asked them about some shadow people that were visiting me. Like it's only happened one other time. So I knew it was serious. And I knew that I had um an experience with extraterrestrials and that it was real. So I stopped asking questions because I knew that I wasn't supposed to be asking questions. I don't remember them ever visiting again. I have a sneaking suspicion that I also have been abducted, but I couldn't tell you yes or no because I don't have that memory yet. Um, but I asked my father about the last time I had a seizure, and he remembers it. He remembers the first one and the last one. And I said, "Do you remember like that night?" And he has a memory of right after I had said to him, "Daddy, there's men coming from the ceiling," which was actually me seeing these beings. He thought I was just hallucinating. Um, I said, "Do you remember that night?" And he was like, "Yeah." He was like, "You said there were men coming from the ceiling. You're hallucinating. So I just picked you up and moved you into our bed." But I didn't wake up
Wow.
in my dad's bed. So he had this completely separate memory of it where he thought I had just said that and he carried me into his and my mother's bed. But I didn't sleep in his and my mother's bed that night. I woke up in my own bed. So they must have planted it for some reason because he usually did bring me in there. But I think
So
they
I'm
just
sorry.
placed me in my own bed.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. So you did you say you fell asleep in one spot and woke up somewhere else? Is that what you said?
Yes, yes. I fell asleep on the couch while they were doing whatever they were doing. They were paying a lot of attention to my stomach. But they had by my head too. And again, I never had these seizures again. And the other thing about the light, and I'm sorry, a lot of you guys have heard this, but so there was this light in the corner of the room. Don't get me started, okay?
I didn't
Not
mean to
even
click
going
that
there,
one.
okay?
I didn't mean
Um,
to click it. Sorry. Go ahead.
no, I'm just joking.
Yeah, me too.
There was a light in the corner of the room, and I remember this light spoke to me. And it was like really weird because I knew guardian angel. I knew that that's what that was. I was baptized Catholic, but I wasn't like by any means religious. We went to church on like Easter, you know what I mean, Christmas Eve. But I
Mhm.
knew guardian angel, and what this guardian angel said to me was so weird. The guardian angel said, "Mommy, hold on. You're gonna be okay, or they're gonna help you. Um, I really need you and I love you," or something to that effect. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was weird because I remember thinking it wants me to tell my mom I love her. That was just like weird. I was like 7 years old. So it's like 1989, 1990. I had my first son very early in life. So maybe when I was 16, so like 8 years after this happened, and he had delayed speech. And when he was about 3 or 4 years old, I remember I was upset about something and I was in the kitchen crying, which I still do. So like he didn't see me. Um, And he came in and he hugged my leg and he looked up, and in that same effing voice, he said, "Mommy, you're going to be okay. I love you. I need you." I
Wow.
almost fainted, dude. I almost fainted. But back then, I wasn't connected to any of this. I had turned it all off. I was not dealing with any of it. I was not telling anyone any of my experiences. So I didn't look further into that. And it just turns out that my oldest son is one of my soulmates, and he needed me to get through that. Don't know why the aliens, the extraterrestrials stepped in though. I still have no. Oh, I got to tell you, and I told you guys again. I'm sorry because a lot of this is repetitive to some of the people in the chat, but that's what happens, sometimes with interviews. I
Mhm.
went to visit my mother like 2 weeks ago, and I left my toddler here with his dad. So my toddler and I sleep in one bed, which is actually right next to this little window. My windows are smaller windows. And my husband sleeps in another bed all the way across the master bedroom, simply because my son sleeps sideways and there's no room for three people in a bed. Um, so when I get on the phone with my son, I went Friday night, stayed through Saturday, and then stayed through Sunday, and left Sunday night. So Sunday morning, I spoke to my toddler and he was like, "Mommy," he was like, "there was this big bright light, this circle light, Mommy." He's like, "going through our yard last night." He's like, "and it kept me up. It was so bright. And I think they were looking for you." And I was like,
Wow. Wow.
so it gets better. So I'm sitting there and I didn't remember he had said that until, because I always keep, when you talk to me on the phone, you're on speakerphone most likely. And my mom and I were talking about it today. She's like, "I can't believe he said that." And my oldest son. So I was like, "Oh my God, he did say that." So anyway, there's no street lights where I live. And I'm surrounded by woods. When I say I live in the woods, I live in the woods. There's a road here, but there's no street lights. I have no front yard lights. I have no lights anywhere on my property, 2.5 acres. So I'm surrounded by darkness. My husband, who doesn't believe in any of this, okay,
Hmm.
and he doesn't even talk to me about it. He doesn't like to even, he doesn't think about it. He said, "Yeah, it was the weirdest thing." He's like, "It definitely wasn't an airplane." He's like, "There was something searching our yard last night." He's like, "And it was so intense and bright that RJ and I had to move to the other bed all the way across the room where there are no windows. The one window there, but the air conditioning's still in there, and there's a big blackout curtain. I don't have curtains on my windows in these two. And the one that the light was coming in. But he said it was also coming in like this side light. And then he went downstairs at like 3 in the morning to get something to drink, and it was coming through the kitchen lights. Dude, there was something circling my freaking house. And
So your
I'm just waiting
skeptical
for them to come
husband.
back,
So
man.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
your
no,
skeptical
that and
husband
that's what
saw it.
makes it real. It's not just a
Oh,
toddler making things up, man. Like there was something here.
wow. Um, so I want to ask because you mentioned I mean that was a lot to take in. That's incredible. Really. I mean, who knows? It could have been something extraterrestrial or. So I want to ask you though, because you mentioned guardian angel earlier. Do you believe that things like angels and demons, or even maybe ghosts and spirits, apparition? Do you think that they are perhaps like an extra dimensional type entity, or like say like in case of like angelic or celestial beings, whatever you want to call them, that they're like an extra dimensional type being that maybe is like closest to the source, or how God, source, whatever you want to use. I try not to put labels on things because I just,
Right.
like I said, I look at everything like energy, but I'm definitely spiritual at the same time. But so what's your opinion on that? I just want to ask you.
Well, I don't make it a secret that I'm religious. I do a lot with my church. I'm
Mm.
Christian, but I don't bring it to YouTube. But when I do have to bring it up, it's just me stating my opinion. And I always reiterate
Yeah.
that, guys. So I love you all, whether you agree with me or not. To me, angels are the right hand of the creator. Okay, whether you believe that's God or you believe whatever created us, whatever.
Yeah.
I
That's
do
something once said
not,
closest to force. Sorry. I'm sorry, I
yeah,
didn't
no,
cut
I
you
do
off.
not believe that they're extraterrestrial. I do believe
Extra dimensional.
extraterrestrials were created by the same whatever we were created by.
Mm.
But yeah, and I believe in earth angels, and I believe in star seeds, and I believe in, obviously the fae. And I do believe that some of us are earth angels, reincarnated angels, and there's all different missions. And once one
Mm.
of us finds that mission, we're like, we've got to go hard. Oh, thank you guys. You guys are too sweet. But yes, I do believe that they're the closest to source, in my opinion.
Right. Well, that's I kind of wanted to separate the extraterrestrial between like extra dimensional is what I kind of meant. Is that what do you think that say like angelic
Oh, yeah, I must
or
have
celestial beings
misunderstood
that
you, I'm
they could
sorry.
not so much like something from another planet, but like say like with something angelic or celestial being, well just that angel, like what you're speaking to, like you said, closest to source, closest to God. That's what I'm thinking. But do you think that's like just some some energy that's like extra dimensional that's just like above everything, closest to the creator, I guess. Like, I mean,
Yes,
you answered it pretty
I
much. I'm sorry, I'm
understand now what you're
rambling, but
asking. Yes, I
yeah,
do. I believe that's the highest, ascension that you can have, when
okay.
you're spiritually awakening. Um, I believe, again, like humans can choose where they're going to go, but you're always going to be a human. But I believe angels can reincarnate as humans, as whatever kind of extraterrestrial, whatever's out there. I believe they can. And I believe there are a lot. Thank you, Richard Elmore. And it's so nice to see you, by the way. There are a lot of earth angels reincarnating, bam, 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 in this, maybe 50 years, from like 2000 to like 2050. I believe there are going to be more earth angels walking this earth than any other, time period in history. I believe there's more extraterrestrials walking this earth, um, than any other time period, because we're all trying to get the collective to wake up. And I believe, and this is a little bit of a tangent, if you'll allow me to do it,
Go
I
ahead.
believe that the white, the gray aliens that are always experimenting on us and having hybrids, I know a lot of species of extraterrestrial have hybrid programs, and I believe that, but I believe mainly the grays, um, why they visit so much too is because they were on a planet just like ours. They were just like us until,
Oh,
they got too far into technology. They lost their emotion, they lost their humanity, and had to go underground because they destroyed their planet. And now they can't reproduce. And the reason they look the way they do is, number one, they're extraterrestrial, so they didn't look exactly like us, but they were kind of made up the same way. And they're afraid we're going to do the same thing, number one, so they're on this planet disguised, cloaked, whatever, trying to help us. And number two, they can't reproduce, so they need us, specifically the women, because it's easier to implant in a woman than it is to take from a man and implant in an alien. If the alien can't reproduce, I don't know why they're experimenting on the men. I haven't figured that out, why men are being put through this, because if they can't reproduce, they can't reproduce. But I know the women specifically are very, very important to the extraterrestrial, this specific kind, because they can implant in us. And then we have, guys, thank you. I'm actually a huge, awkward dork who reads for fun and does research in my free time. Um, so I appreciate you. I really do.
we're all the awareness community. There's nothing wrong with it. I think honestly, we're unique. I don't like to use the word weird. I say unique. I think we probably outnumber the ones that think they're normal. So really, they're weird ones. I'm sorry.
I agree. I always
Um,
say I'm the black
I'm
sheep
just
in my
playing.
family, but you white sheep are pretty gray looking to me. Like,
Uh,
that's what I always say.
that's funny. No, what you said though, that's it's really
I
crazy.
saw
I
you
have
going like, "Oh my god," like, "Oh my god."
yeah. Well, I've said this on a couple other channels. I don't know if this guy's going to come on here. I've spoke to him multiple times, but there's an experiencer I've met. He's really iffy about coming out to the public, but he's had missing time and abduction experiences, and he said that he's been giving, whether you want to call it a download or some kind of information that the Greys. It's going to sound really weird now, but that they are actually from an Earth, but not our Earth, and it's from a parallel reality, and that they were humans, but they're from the future, and that they merged yourself with technology, just like you said. Now,
Wow.
I'm not saying this is correct, people in the chat, but this is what somebody told me. Maybe he's right, maybe he's not. And he
That's
even
what I
said that he
believe.
could be off. But yeah, what you're saying is really close. But said they pretty much kind of like they merged themselves with the internet, and like they became a hive mind, and they lost their emotions because of that. Not just not being able to reproduce, because he told me they do reproduce, but not in a natural way, not a biological way. And
Right.
I guess they do it kind of like they're kind of
They
like
have,
a
like, pods.
synthetic type yeah, kind of like that yeah, so they're kind of like biosynthetic as well. I was getting asked what I was
Mhm.
looking for. But and that's kind of part of why the hybrid program is going on, because they need their emotions back, and that's also why they don't want us to do what they did.
Dude,
I'm sorry, is what you said too, like the reproducing the emotions, like everything you said was so similar to what that guy told
do
me. It
you
kind of
know
freaked
what's
me out a little
crazy
bit.
though? He's an experiencer, and that's what he said. Do you know I have no idea where I came up with that?
Yeah, that's why I said it was
That's
kind of
just
really
something that
bizarre.
I feel like I know. I have no idea where it came from or that idea, and I've heard people like Barbara Lamb, other credible people in the hybrid program community, I guess you could say, the extraterrestrial community say it, but I was saying this for years and years, and I don't know where that came from, like, where that idea came from. So I know I have more experiences in here somewhere that are just they haven't come out. I only got the
Right.
first one 5 months ago, 6 months ago, so
Right, and I didn't really want to say it because, like I said, I don't know if I'm 100%, but he's kind of iffy about coming out. He told me that I could share that, but to make sure I let people know that he's not even 100% sure
right.
about this, but he does feel very strongly. But then you also look at things like the Zimbabwe. Have you heard about Zimbabwe case
A
where
little bit. I think I
these
talked
kids,
to someone about it recently on an interview, but I don't remember who.
all these kids that on a school, they're giving this information from these graves. It was like a mass sighting, like 60 kids and some teachers,
Yes.
about us destroying the planet, and technology, being something that overtakes us pretty much, and they didn't want us to repeat their mistakes.
You know,
So,
Zimbabwe is also a place, I wrote about it in my book, that had some goblins, which are fae, um, run into a classroom full of schoolgirls and attack them and then turn into baboons and run off. And that
wow,
also happened in a Zimbabwe schoolhouse. I'm wondering if there's some kind of, I don't know, open, I don't want to say ley line. I hate when people say that, but like open
vortex kind of thing.
vortex or something, you know, some kind of there's like more of the vibration going out, like, hey, we're right here, you know, in Zimbabwe, because I hear a lot of things. Actually, if I were to write them down, I'd probably have a few things um that happen there specifically. So I
I
did
thought,
hear about that. We talked about it on After Hours, I think, when I was talking about the Fey goblins encounter that I put in my book, and then somebody else said, "Oh, that's where the mass UFO sighting happened as well."
wow, yeah, Chad Smith, I was just speaking to him not too long ago, about that message being given in Africa, and there's a lot of people that theorize that that's the origin of life, of humanity, where the Garden of Eden could be, if you want to say that, whether that's true or not, I don't know. That's just something I
I
was just,
believe the Garden of Eden was in
so,
Iran, but I mean,
um,
there's something
I
going
know,
on there
yeah,
for real. Thinning of the veil,
yeah,
you know.
yeah,
I
definitely.
believe the veil. Listen, I believe the veil. I'm just getting really excited, so I'm sorry I cut you
No,
off.
you're
I'm
okay. I
so
do it
bad
all the
with
time
that.
too.
So
You're
bad
good.
with it. But I've been saying over and over again that, like, people say Halloween, like the veil is the thinnest between the living and the dead. I think that's all of October. I think that's why October people in particular are very special. They were born at this time when, you know, the veil's thin. I believe it gets thinner. But now I believe that the veil is just thinning all year long. And I believe that it's just happening and happening. And I believe that's also why, yeah, probably multiple. I think that's
Some
also
other thing. I'm
why
sorry.
so many people are opening up and so many people are coming into this conscious awareness and this whole collective group kind of awakening. All of these dark nights of the soul, all of these spiritual awakenings, like we said, so many people coming forward and saying, no, this is what I've experienced. This is my truth. And this is what's really going on, in my opinion, right? Because the veil collectively, if you will, is thinning permanently, not just like on Halloween, which I do believe it does. I
Yeah,
believe that's happening all the time now, though.
I completely agree. And like I said earlier, this is almost like the whole shifting paradigm segment that I want to make sure I get a little bit more into some of your actual story about. No, I love this chat that we're having, but
I do too. It's
I'm,
awesome.
that's exactly what what we talk about, why we decided to make that new segment. But I agree 100%. And I'm so sorry. I have somebody at my door. Do you mind
No,
taking some questions
nope,
from the
not at
chat for
all.
just a
Yeah.
moment?
Well, Joshua, it's accepted widely that Samhain is Halloween, but I'm not saying you're wrong. Um, but the veil is thinnest at the end of October. Just kidding. I don't know what I'm saying or what Chad Smith is doing. Chad Smith does rock. Jake Smith rocks as well, guys. Um, Bigfoot and on. I can't wait to chill with you in this lifetime. Let's not have it end a tragedy. Okay, well, that's just one point we
Um,
were making. Joshua, thank you, though. I'll have to look into that.
Hi. And I'm sorry, guys. I'm working on quitting smoking cigarettes. By the way, I'm actually doing very good, but I hope this
I
doesn't bother
vape
you.
on interviews all the time.
Um,
So
I'm working
sorry.
on quitting. I'm trying. Well, I mean, if, I'm trying to move to a vape to help wean myself
That's
down.
what
But I'm
I
actually
did. I did that.
I'm doing really good. Sorry, somebody had the wrong address. Wasn't even for me. I was thinking I thought I told all my friends I was doing this right now. All my
Enzo,
friends around
that's
here. Yeah.
a really interesting question. And I
Yeah.
do say that a lot. He said, Gemma, if everyone could experience the world as you do, how different would our society be? And I always say this: I can see people
So,
at their core. Okay. Um, I can see people for who they really are within 30 seconds of meeting them. Even if I don't say anything and even if I let them pretend to be what I know that they're not, because that's not for me to say. Um, I believe if everyone could see the soul like that, and if everybody could see people at their core and like how beautiful their soul people's souls are and how ugly some other souls are, you know, the world's view of beauty would be so different than what it is now. And I get emotional when I talk about that because I really I mean, I was a model. I've been through a lot with my looks. And a lot of people don't know that, I was an honor roll student and I was skipped grades back when they skipped grades and I do all the research and scripting for missing persons mysteries and do you know what I mean? People don't pay attention to that part of it and I have to deal with that a lot. But if everybody could see the world like I do where you can see someone for who they really are right when you meet them, dude, and I hope we get there one day where everyone is just I was born this way. I was lucky, man. I was so lucky. Um, the problem is it doesn't always I'm not always psychic about myself. So I can't see some people and I always say I can't see some people and therefore I don't see some people coming. And that's why I've had bad relationships. People are like, "Well, if you're psychic, nobody's ever psychic about themselves."
or 100,
Unfortunately.
nobody's 100%. I don't believe. Like even the psychics that are really good, I don't think any of them are 100%. I mean, you pretty much be God. Like I
Yeah,
feel like,
exactly,
yeah.
and that's why I always
Or
try to speak in general terms because if I get some guys like, "I don't believe in psychics, tell me what color my underwear are." I'm like, "They're your mom's." Like, it doesn't work that way. I'm like, "It's energetic." He's like,
I
"Is there
love
no
that.
energy in my
Yeah.
pants?" I was like, "You gotta go." Like, and that's what I mean. I get people like that. Um,
Sorry.
but,
Yeah,
people
that's
don't
funny.
have to believe me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's okay because maybe they haven't experienced it. Maybe they don't wanna think that someone could be like this, or maybe they just don't like me as a person. There's something about me that puts them off. When I came on
Yeah.
YouTube, I did not expect that I was gonna be for everyone. But, I mean, I've had people give me, like, death threats, like, it got that bad.
Right.
Um, and that gets kinda
That's
scary when you're
horrible.
just like, "I'm just being who I am. I'm never rude or obnoxious." But, since I've gotten into the extraterrestrial stuff and since I started talking more, in interviews at first I wasn't doing interviews, I was just doing my channel, and then once people started getting to know me more, all of that kind of stopped. I very rarely get anything like that. I get people sometimes who challenge me, and I do get, still uncomfortable with that, but the reason is not because I wanna be right all the time. The reason is because it takes me back to when I was treated the way I was as a child. um, I get, like, afraid to, like, be challenged because, like, what if I am wrong? I never what if my experience is so different from everybody else's? I don't know. I'm still working on that part of it where I'm able to say, like, "Okay, I didn't know that," you know,
Right.
because people can
Well,
be so judgy.
yeah, and I mean that's like what we said a couple of times earlier. Everybody's like a unique piece of the universe. I'm I mean, obviously you're an open-minded Christian, which and I love that you said you think there's truth in all religions. Because I mean, I look at like the main point, like that we're all connected. There's something bigger than us. There's also always beings that come from the sky. That's something I think of. There's the flood. There's just all these parallels. But um, I'm sorry. I really I want to say something because it was really profound that you said this, and also you reminded me. I meant to say this earlier. I told you right before that I had something to tell you that I thought you were really going to
I
like,
was
and it
thinking
wasn't
about that earlier
anything.
and I forgot.
Yeah, no, it's nothing paranormal or anything, but you made me think of it. So, uh, literally just a couple hours ago, or about 2 hours ago, right before me and you did this, I was at Walmart down the road shopping, and I come back and there's this guy behind me, and I'm in my work truck, and this guy's like blaring his horn at me. And at first, I'm like, "What in the hell?" I think he's maybe somebody else, and then he keeps doing it. And then he pulls up to the lane next to me, and he's like yelling like through the window, and I start getting kind of paranoid, and almost a little self-defensive. I'm like, what is going on? Well, the guy gets in front of me and like cuts me off, and then like starts throwing his hand out the window, and I'm like,
Oh
okay,
my
like
god.
what's going on? So like I end up pulling over to the side of the road, and I'm like, "Look, what do I need to do? Am I about to call the cops?" Well, he pulls over in front of me too. I reach in my phone, in my pocket to grab my phone because I'm seriously thinking like either that or I'm gonna have to, grab my gun or something. I don't know what is about to happen. The guy gets out the truck. He had my phone. I dropped my phone at Walmart parking lot. Guy
Oh my
chased me
god.
down and brought me my phone. I'm like, oh my god, like it was just. Like that could, and I have a nice phone, and he could have stole that, but the fact that he like chased me down literally like went out of his
Made
way.
himself
So
look absolutely aggressively insane.
I mean, yeah, but I
But
mean,
that's what
I'm
I
so
mean. 20 years
grateful
ago,
that he
that wouldn't have
did.
happened.
Yeah, and like you said, the world would be so much better if there was more people like that. Because like they say, every action has an opposite and equal reaction. That would have messed. I wouldn't get. It would just screwed up everything. It screwed up my energy, my emotions right now.
It's
Just
true.
I don't have to
I always
buy
tell
anything right now.
people
But
at the end of my
sorry, yeah.
videos, "What's up, Chad Smith?" I'm always like, "Listen, smile. Listen, guys, smile at a stranger." And the reason I say that at the end of my videos is because how many times, maybe it's never happened to you, but I know for me, and by the way, I love my Walmart. Um, you go into a place or you're coming out of it and you're just in a bad mood, no matter where you are, you're just having a bad day and you're just feeling like crap and just hating the world. And I tend to become still working on myself, very aggressive with people, just like nasty. Like I will call Amazon just to complain about something because I can pick on their customer service. I don't do it anymore, but I used to. But just having a
Mm.
bad day, right? And then all of a sudden you like someone holds it, goes out of their way to hold the door open and gives you this genuine smile, and you smile back. And then what happens? Your energy
It's,
starts to
con-
change
it's
and you
contagious,
start
isn't
to
it?
shift
Emotions.
into a better place. And I feel like if we could all walk around and just smile at one person or say a genuine hello to somebody or have a good night or something like that. I've worked in so many different places where my nickname ended up being Smiley out of nowhere because I've just I used to really love people. Now I'm very introverted because of my addiction and things that have happened, but I used to be very outgoing like that. But think about it. Someone gives you a genuine smile and you can't help as a human being for the most part to smile back.
Right,
And I
emotions are
think
contagious. It's
yeah.
absolutely
Yep.
right. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Yeah, you're
Mm,
absolutely right. And I think it's that frequency. Like you literally that energy. You have a high
changes.
vibrational frequency. It's I point out to a lot of people. If you ever notice whenever you have a high energy, you have positive emotions, it seems like time is going by faster. Literally,
Yep.
it seems like things work more in your favor. Like you trust your intuition more. It seems like whenever you
Yep.
bump into these like ripples, if you think about like the butterfly effect, like you're going through life. I look at life kind of like a river, and it's like there's all these ripples everywhere by other people and events and circumstances, and you're constantly like maneuvering around them. And if you're at a low frequency, you're kind of like rapids just splashing everywhere. It's chaotic. But if you're at a high frequency, you just go around it smoothly. It works more in your favor, kind of. Like time goes by quicker. It's just like a way I kind of like, I put it as an image in my head just to help me, visualize it. But I'm
I
sorry. Yeah,
just
I
want
know
to
I went
say
way off the rails there.
no, no. I'm just Joshua Benjamin. Like everything I say, you're just like coming at me with like this crazy stuff that like, okay, if Satan opened a door for me, maybe it wouldn't matter if he smiled, but I don't walk through doors that Satan opens. Okay, so I don't know like what your deal is, dude, or maybe you need to work on yourself. But Spooky
Okay, open
Bear,
minded. Spooky Mouse, what's up, buddy? Um, hey, actually, we have a surprise guest here,
I was just gonna
Gemma.
say I can't wait to see you again, and here he is.
Is he? I think he might be in here. Spooky, what's up, buddy? You there?
I'm here, but I don't
Yeah,
know. That looks really weird. Hold on a second.
This is very fortuitous.
Yeah, I'd asked a couple. Do you need
What
to
the heck?
leave and come back in, see what's going on?
I want to see that face.
Thanks, Sunsaver. I appreciate that. Um, uh, Spooky, let me throw you out and bring you right back in if I can. Oh, my phone freeze. What's going on here?
And can I tell you, I was gonna say it before that every time certain things come up, like
Mm-hmm.
last night in my readings, it was getting like really, really high, positive, like so good. And my Wi-Fi went out for like 5 hours. You start talking about the Fae, things break down. And now you've got me, you, and Spooky, which we were talking about getting us together, and we can't. And this happened. Do you see what I
Yeah,
mean?
are you frozen right now? Because I'm totally
No,
frozen. Sorry,
no,
everybody in the chat. So you can see me right now, perfect though.
you're good. I can see you perfectly fine.
Okay. I hope people in the chat can, because honestly, my phone is just
You
totally
guys
frozen.
can
Maybe
hear
it's
us, right?
electronics or if you can help me with the chat, Gemma, 'cause
Yeah, no,
I
of
guess
course.
my
As long as StreamYard is still up, you're good. But I will.
okay. I don't know. Maybe my electronics just got thrown off. I have no idea, but my
I have a
phone is
dragon
totally frozen right
necklace.
now.
It's okay. I'll talk to the
So
chat for you. You could figure it out.
um, I'm wondering if I leave, if it's going to kick y'all off though. That's what I
Yes,
don't
if
want
you
to
leave, it'll kick us
leave.
off. But if they wanna,
Okay.
they can. It'll kick us off StreamYard, but they can stay in YouTube, and we can come right back on.
Will that still be a
But it
part of
might
the
not work.
stream? Uh, yeah, I guess because we're getting close to finishing
Yeah,
anyways.
this is what
Uh,
happened on
uh,
my stream last night.
that's so weird. Um, okay, well, I want to go ahead and get to a few things about you. If I hope y'all can see me, Jim. If you can help me in
They
the chat,
can. They
like,
said that they can see you. They can hear you. I got the chat. They're good. They can see and
okay,
hear both of us.
thank you. Yeah, my phone is just totally
Enzo
frozen.
said
It's
everyone
weird.
is coming in strong, and that's what it is. It's all of us people who are looking for answers and trying to wake ourselves up. And I'm not talking about being woke, guys. I'm talking about really waking up, not wokeism on parade. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And I think that's what it is. The energy is probably just really huge in our chat right now.
might be. And Spooky knows I had a weird experience the other night with the orbs, but I want to ask you about that. Have you had any orb experiences? And because I wanted to ask you about like the Fae thing, if you believe that that's like some kind of extra dimensional type thing, like not extraterrestrial, but extra dimensional. And yeah, what's your opinion on that? And have you had experiences with orbs?
I feel like with orbs, no, I have not had many experiences. A few, but they weren't really they didn't really have an effect on me for some reason, like something memorable for me. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, it happened like maybe 2 or 3 times, and there was so much other things going on that the orbs were kind of like last in my radar. But I don't know, like, again, because my experience with them has been so limited, I haven't researched them a lot. But from what I've heard and from what I just know, speaking specifically about the Fae, is the Fae will come in orbs sometimes, but I don't know what they look like. There's so many different species of Fae, or their orbs probably look differently. I do believe orbs can be spirit. I believe your spirit guides when they want to show themselves in orbs. I believe spirit can show up as an orb and then shape into a spirit. So I have a lot of different thoughts on orbs, but that's mainly because I haven't done a lot of research to get focused on one thing of what they are.
No, I think you're totally right. People in the chat who heard me on here or other podcasts, they probably heard me say before. I think orbs are probably a wide variety thing. I just look at like condensed energy, and you kind of already answered the next question I was going to ask you. You thought there was a relationship between the Fae and the orbs, but I totally agree. I think orbs could be, something spiritual. Maybe some of them are extraterrestrial. Maybe some are extra dimensional. Maybe some are angelic or Fae, like you said. Who knows? Maybe some of them are actually military reverse engineered type things. Who knows? I think if
That's
you
a
all
whole
did like,
other video. We could talk about
yeah, I was
my
gonna say,
opinion on that.
yeah. Well, I was just agreeing though. Like, I think they could be a wide variety of things though. But yeah, I
Yeah.
don't want to go down that rabbit hole with the military, because I do
We don't
think
have enough
military
time.
has reverse engineered stuff. Yeah, yeah. I had to say that for another video. Um, Guys, I'm really sorry. I'm glad that y'all can see this, but my phone is
They're
really
actually,
just
yeah, not having
completely
any
glitched up
issues.
right now. Okay. All right. Well. Yeah. My even my clock is frozen on my phone. It's really really bizarre. It's never done this before with me ever. Um. It's kind of throwing me off a little bit. So as far as like your I guess psychic experiences, what would you say has like been the most profound thing that's happened to you? Life changing. Sorry, is what I meant.
I think just being able to pick in someone's mind if I want to, knowing that I don't do that, guys, so don't think I do that. I'm not voyeuristic like that, but it's been life changing in a really great way because my clients and the people that I read for, once I connect with you, I can energetically check up on you by like poking around in your mind. If I try, and I try not to do it because I do get thoughts sometimes, but if I get a feeling like, oh my gosh, something's going on with Josh, I can actually reach out and like see, and then I can be like, yo, dude, what's going on? And if nothing's happened yet, I can tell you that something will. And for me, being able to connect with people like that is not all the time, but if I really have a connection with someone, especially like if I'm soul bound with them in some way, um, I will definitely. So stuff like that, being able to, a lot of the time it's annoying though. Like if I always use this example when I went to Olive Garden and I had forgotten to put my walls up. And I knew that like there was this guy in there that was cheating with like he was there with his girlfriend, but like he was worried about his wife, wondering if he used the credit card. Like I'm picking all these things up. So it's really good in a way. But if I forget that I can do it, I can really kind of go crazy. And you know what the effed up part is? I cannot do it with my husband because that would tell me too much about my own life. It would be like being psychic about myself. Unfortunately, I don't get me wrong. I can feel when he's doing something wrong or when I get it, but specific thoughts coming from his brain or like memories like I can do with other people, I can't do that with him. And I want to
Do you
say
think maybe there's something? Sorry,
my son said
sorry, go
something
ahead.
really profound to me yesterday that I just wanted to say too. I know my kids and I are soul connected, at least three of them in some way. But my youngest, I believe he's a soulmate, and I believe we spent many lifetimes together. But he said to me he wanted chocolate milk in the morning, and I'm not the first person. Like I've heard other people say their kids have said something similar. So he says to me, I said, "Can you wait a minute, honey? Mommy's doing something." And he said, oh, he goes, Mom, when I chose you to be my mommy, I had to wait so long for you to get your act together before I could even be born. Now I got to
What?
wait for my chocolate milk too.
What? Wow.
And
Um.
I'm looking at
So,
him like, dude, where did you come from? But it's not the first time. Like he said one time, oh, remember when I was in your belly and you went to that concert and that music was so loud, mommy? And I did. I went to a concert at church when I was pregnant, and I remember standing by the speaker. My husband was like, I wonder if the baby can hear that really loud. And I backed up and went to a Citizens and Saint concert on June 24th, 2018, almost a month before my son was born. I'll never forget it now because that moment sticks in my head because yes, I do remember that, RJ. Like how does he have a memory from being in the womb?
wow. That's I mean, I don't know. See, I'm open to all of this stuff definitely. Because I mean, like I said, I try to bridge the gap between the spirit and the science, or however you want to say it. But I told you I have Native American in me too. My mother, she's half Blackfoot Native American. I've had a lot of weird times where something will happen with me, and my mother will call me, or like a lot of times I'll be picking up the phone to call them, and maybe I haven't talked to her in a couple of weeks or something, and I'm calling her, and she's calling me the exact moment that I'm calling her. We're both just like, whoa. And I used to joke around, and say that we have a psychic connection, and
You
now I look
probably
at
do. You have a soul
things a lot
connection with your mom.
different. It's it's really bizarre. Actually, can I tell you one thing about myself real quick? And first,
Yeah,
can
of
you tell me what
course.
time it is? I don't know what time it is. I wish I could see you, and I hope
It's
this doesn't
we
mess up
have
on
about
stream.
10 minutes left
Okay.
because you have to go do the other thing and I've got other work.
Yeah. I really hope this doesn't mess up the stream. I wish I could see you talking right now. But so the I think I told you about a year is almost exactly a year before I was born. I told this story a lot. I had a what I really believe now. Preston did it. A couple other people, they told me that it sounds exactly like an astral projection, something I did on accident, I guess, like 11 years ago. It was almost exactly a year before my near-death experience, and I saw my grandfather in this dream, and it was the most realistic. I can't even explain how realistic it was. It's like it was so high definition looking that it looked realer than actual reality. Like the color, like the grass. I was in front of my grandparents' house. The grass looked greener than actual green in this reality. If that makes any sense. So I saw him. I kind of, I couldn't even say anything to him. I almost just started choking up really, and he just gave me a hug and told me everything would be okay. I woke up and felt this weird energy, and it just like a mix of shock and I was humbled and grateful I saw my grandfather. But what I really want to get to you about, because I think I mentioned that, but I didn't say anything about the day that I was born. Well, first I need to tell you, a couple months before I was born, my great grandfather, he was full-blooded black for Native American. He was killed. Some robbers broke in his house. The day that I was born, my mother and my grandmother, they had a weird experience with me. I'm not even 24 hours old, and they said they saw an apparition of my great grandfather who had just passed away. And my
Really?
mother said it, yeah, my mother said it looked like he was in me, and I don't know what that means. She can't put it into words, but she said I don't know how to say it, Josh. He was there. He was in you, and I don't know, what that means or how to explain
Wow.
it. I used to always just look at it as a nice story, like a guardian angel type thing, maybe. But now I look at it totally different. I don't still don't know what to think about it, but I don't know what's your opinion. I just want to ask you since we're here, and I really wish
I
I could
was
see you right now, actually. But go ahead.
you're believe it or not, you're the only one that's having that issue. So the stream is perfectly fine. Everyone's still talking normal. So believe it, just go with the flow on it. It's not a big deal, really. Nobody else can see it. If you didn't say it, we wouldn't even know what was going on. So you're good. But so what I would think honestly is that you um I would say you were what was it, your grandfather? You were him in your past life and you're just reborn, is what my first instinctual thought of that was, is that for some reason he slash you immediately reincarnated, and that hug that you had gotten was kind of a
Well, I'm sorry. The hug was for my grandfather. I don't mean to cut you off. My grandfather passed away when I was like 7 or 8 years old. But
okay, okay.
I do need to add this though, because I've told this story a lot, and people do know this. Before, so I woke up on my couch exactly where I was laying down. I stood up and I had this intense vertigo. I thought I'd woken up. I fell to the floor and I realized I was not awake. But I was in my house, like it looked like it was in my house. Everything looked identical, but I just felt off
Right.
balance, really, really bizarre. I couldn't even stand up. I had to use the wall to prop myself up. And I
Wow.
always leave this part out, but at the very beginning, there was this entity, whatever. It looked like a friend of mine that wasn't my friend. I know because he had solid black eyes, and that freaked me the fuck out. Excuse my
Ooh.
language. Yeah, and I looked at him. He made like direct eye contact with me, like he was looking straight into my soul. And I just remembered I felt this urge to get to the back of my house, in my bedroom would have been. And he never moved or anything. It's just like he was observing me and made eye contact. But I walked away from him and had to use the wall to prop myself up. And I walked through the door that should have been my bedroom, and immediately, like, I'm in this big empty room. It wasn't my bedroom. It was and this dream was linear, it was step by step. And I remember every single detail. It's like my senses were dialed up to 11. But this big empty box room that should have been my bedroom, the vertigo immediately stopped. I felt fine. I just still knew I wasn't awake. But there's a man in the middle of this big empty box room, and he's sitting in a chair, and he has white hair and a hat and a button-up shirt with jeans and boots, and I remember every detail. And he was sitting in a fold-out chair, and he had an empty fold-out chair facing him, like he was just waiting for me. I didn't say anything. I just sat down in front of him. He said, "It's nice to meet you. I've heard a lot about you." And then he nodded his head to the back of the room where there was a second door, and he said, "Somebody wants to see you." And then I got up and walked to his door, and I'm immediately in front of my grandfather's house, who passed away when I was 7, 8 years old. Now
Oh
the
wow.
really crazy thing is, I'm sorry. Whenever I woke up, I'm almost done with this. Um, I told my mother about this, and she tripped out and called her mother because the man who was sitting in the chair, the way I described him, he sounded identical to my great grandfather. He's my great grandfather is the one who passed away before I was born, and I've never even seen a picture of him. I don't know what he looks like, but they said he always wore a hat, he had white hair, he always wore a
Okay.
button-up shirt, tucked his shirt in. It's a crazy experience, and I didn't mean to get
So
so much on myself, but I want to know
no,
what you thought
please.
about it.
I this is fascinating for me. So first of all, when I first said that you saw someone that looked like your friend with black eyes who was just observing, I thought maybe you had accidentally switched dimensions or something, but that didn't happen because you had met your great grandfather. So either he reincarnated immediately as you because he probably has some kind of soul bond with your mom, which means you have a soul bond with your mom, and might have some kind, I don't know what the connection with your grandfather, but I do believe it's very possible that you and your great grandfather are one and the same.
Well, Barbara
Um,
Jean Lindsay said the same thing, and she's going to
yeah,
be one of my next guests on Valentine's Day.
but
Barbara Jean Lindsay coming on.
that
And
doppelganger thing, I'm gonna really look into that. When I hear about doppelgangers or all black eyes, that really, to me,
can I tell you
that's
what
very.
Preston didn't say about it? I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I know we're short on time. Preston said maybe I was going through portals whenever I went through the doors, and when I woke up with the vertigo, there could have been some kind of evil spirit
I
or
was
even something
That's what I was just
extraterrestrial.
saying. To me, all black eyes is something demonic or extraterrestrial, one or the other. But yeah, I mean that's very possible. But I think you probably have some kind of very strong soul connection with your mom, and that's why you decided to reincarnate immediately as who you are. And that's also why you're probably very, we're led on this path. We have free will, but the universe tries to guide us as best it can. We could either go or not, but they put a pretty strong play in for us to go their way, or it puts. And that could really be possible. I've never heard anything like that before, but I believe it 100%. And yes, you could have, you didn't have any guards up, you didn't even mean to do it, and that could be why your grandfather was there, because you didn't have any guards up, and whatever this evil thing was could have overtaken you. I've astral projected one time and something tried to jump me, something evil, and I never did it again because I realize now I didn't call on my spirit guides. I just laid down and decided to do it with no protection. And I was seeing a lot of things with red eyes, but not a doppelganger of a friend. And that intrigues me.
They're black eyes, by the way. It wasn't red. Black,
That's what
like
I meant. I
solid
meant
black.
meant to say black,
The, the
because that's what
entire
I
eye was
mean.
just
Whenever I hear full black eyes, I always think either extraterrestrial or demonic, because in my experience, it's always one or the other. It's never something of love and light.
right.
Oh, you guys are
Well,
so welcome.
next,
Everyone's saying good night. Everyone's saying thank you. Everyone's saying great conversation, amazing show.
yeah, thank you
Grandmaster
so much,
says,
everybody.
I have a very strong soul connection with your mom, Josh. That's great.
Thanks,
Thank you
man.
for having me on, Josh.
Yeah,
Guys, please go on and subscribe. Someone just said they subbed. Thank you so much. Most of you already are, but Gemma Jade. I also have Moon Bear Oracle that I just started up. My book, Missing the Faith Theory. That's on Amazon. And you can check me out on Paranormal Chop Shop Friday nights from 9 to 11 Eastern, and Spaced Out Radio after our show from 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern Time on Saturday and Sundays with Big Willie and John Hudson. Josh, thank you so much for having me. Message me anytime. And guys, I love you guys so much. Be kind, smile at a stranger, and go in grace. All right. Good night.
thank you so much. I'll see all y'all there. Definitely gotta get you back on, Jim.
Anytime, just let me know. I'm open except the weekend, so we're good. Have a
Okay.
good night. Bye bye.
Thank you. I hope this doesn't mess up the stream broadcast. Come on. Gotta be joking me. I'm still live. Sorry, guys. Okay, now my stream's working perfect. Hey, guys, still in here. That was really weird. Thank you, everybody that's still in here. That was awesome, awesome chat. I definitely got to get Gemma back on here because I wanted to hear a lot more about her story. I didn't expect it to go quite that way, but it was incredible. Yeah, Enzo, I can see everybody perfect now. I mean, my screen is working fine. That was so weird and so bizarre. I've never had anything like that happen before. My entire screen just glitched and it just completely frozen. But thank you all so much. I'm gonna update the description and put Gemma's social links in the description as soon as I can. Thank you all so much for being here, everybody. This was a great chat. I think UFO Garage is about to come on. Spooky Morales, if you're still in here, I'm sorry I couldn't get you in, man. That was like I said, that was really weird. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for everybody subbing. Go sub to Gemma's channels. Everybody, take it easy. Have a good night. It was really awesome.